And I want to talk about something a little different, which I haven't commented on yet, and that is the Trump trip to Saudi Arabia, which netted a whole bunch of promised investment, not just from Saudi Arabia, but from other Arab countries. And I think this trip was significant in two very big ways. The first one is that Trump figured out a new way to deal with Saudi Arabia, a new relationship with Saudi Arabia, because the old relationship was, in fact, is obsolete. So what's the old relationship? Well, the old relationship with Saudi Arabia was based upon the idea of we need Saudi oil, and we need Saudi oil at a reasonable price. And so the whole so-called petrodollar system, basically it goes back to a deal cut between the United States and the Saudis in the middle of the 20th century. But it had to do with the Saudis kind of working closely with the United States. The Saudis essentially offer a reliable, reasonably priced oil supply. And the United States, in a sense, offers Saudi protection, offers the Saudis that the great force of the U.S. military will be brought to bear to protect you and to protect other U.S. allies in the region. So that was the old arrangement. But it turns out that there are lots of other countries now that make oil. The United States has not only oil, but a giant supply of natural gas. We don't need the Saudis in that way. And so the new arrangement is really based upon investment. The Saudis invest with the United States, joint partnerships. The Saudis put money into the huge areas where you can say the world economy is moving, things like artificial intelligence, things like robotics, all this cutting edge stuff that puts the Saudis on the front line and on the cutting edge, and essentially it boosts the U.S. comparative advantage vis-a-vis China. So the Saudis in a sense put their money, they bet on the U.S. horse instead of the Chinese horse. And that is good for the United States, and it's also, of course, it's in other ways good for Saudi Arabia. And then Trump also said something. This is my second point, the second area of significance of this trip, and that is that Trump said, listen, we have a different view. We don't think that the prosperity of your region has been created by so-called nation builders, neocons, liberal nonprofits, the World Economic Forum. Those guys all like to go around talking like they're responsible for fixing the world. They're not. In fact, they're responsible basically for lining their own pockets. So guess who built Amman? You did, the Jordanians. Guess who built the United Arab Emirates and the spectacular skyline of the UAE? You did it. Guess who built Saudi Arabia and converted it from essentially a desert, a Bedouin desert, to now a glittering society with spectacular cities and industries in places like Riyadh? You did it. And then Trump said, you did it the Arab way. So Trump here is praising, in a sense, you could call it true diversity. He's saying there are a lot of things that different people bring to the table in the world. The Japanese are really good at certain things, and so are the Filipinos, and so are the Asian Indians, and so are the Israelis, and so are the Saudis. And guess what? It's not our job to sort of sit in moral judgment of the rest of the world. You didn't do this, you didn't do that, we're in charge, you got to listen to us, follow our way. Trump goes, basically, those days are over. The United States wants to be a friend and ally to everybody in the world who is peaceful, who's productive, who's trying to make the world better. We want to have essentially trade, but fair trade on even terms with everybody else. We're not going to be looking to boss you around. We're not going to be looking to tell you what to do. We're not going to take credit for your successes. That credit belongs to you. Most of us think Medicare is something to deal with someday. That's kind of how I felt until recently. Now, I'm 64, and the moment you hit that number, it begins. You start getting junk mail, robocalls, TV ads with washed-up celebrities, and none of it makes any sense. The more I looked into it, the clearer it became. This whole system, this Medicare system, is meant to be confusing. Why? Because it lets big insurers profit from your uncertainty. Now, in fact, the DOJ just filed a major lawsuit accusing some of the largest Medicare brokers of misleading seniors, steering them into plans that paid the highest kickbacks, not the best coverage. That's why I turned to Chapter. Now, Chapter is independent. Their advisors walk you through every option. They're unbiased, pressure-free. They help you find the plan that's right for you, and it's all at no cost. So if you're turning 65, or even if you're over 65, do what I did, call Chapter. Here's how you do it. Dial pound 250 and then say Dinesh. Don't let big insurance decide for you. Take control. Call Chapter today. That's pound 250, keyword Dinesh.